Novo Nordisk, the company behind Ozempic and Wegovy, is down over 50% from its highs. So what happened? And more importantly, can this stock come back? Because right now it's trading at just $52 with only 11% institutional ownership. That means that most of this stock is held by retail investors like you and me. And that's wild because retail investors, they move fast. They react to headlines, not balance sheets. Yet somehow Novo Nordisk's 60-month beta is only 0.68. The stock barely moves when the market does. So why the disconnect? Well, on one hand, we've got an aging leadership team, a messy boardroom shakeup, and politicians threatening to slash GLP-1 prices by 59%. On the other hand, we've got a $5.2 billion acquisition, a next-generation obesity drug in testing, and the potential for oral GLP-1 pills. No needles, no hesitation, huge market. That's the tug of war that I'm watching because if any of those oral drugs get FDA approval, this stock could flip from a fallen giant to a comeback story. But if pricing cuts or leadership chaos keeps spreading, I think the story could get ugly fast. Hey, what's up? My name is Rick Orford. I've been trading since 1999, and no, I'm not a financial advisor. That's a good thing. I break down the numbers so retail investors like us can make smarter, more confident decisions with our money. That's why in this video, I'm going to show you the one signal in Novo Nordisk's story that could decide whether the stock rebounds or it keeps bleeding. So with all that out of the way, let's get into it. I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. The Motley Fool is a company that provides investing insight and stock recommendations for investors of all skill sets and risk levels. And you all know how much I love researching new stocks and trying to find the next best investment. So I'm proud to partner with The Motley Fool to bring you 10 stock picks from their popular product, Stock Advisor. Stock Advisor has beaten the market by almost 6 times. Go to fool.com/RickO to get your 10 stock picks right now. Novo Nordisk is a pharmaceutical company founded in 1923 with headquarters in Denmark. So it's been around for over 100 years, which tells you that it knows what it's doing when it comes to healthcare. That kind of longevity doesn't happen by accident. It happens because the company keeps reinventing itself. But what does Novo Nordisk actually do? Well, in plain English, it makes medicines that help people deal with serious ongoing health problems. Now, today it's especially known and famous for insulin and other diabetes treatments and weight loss drugs, which has gotten everybody's attention lately. And these weight loss medications are called GLP-1. This is a drug that helps control appetite and blood sugar at the same time. And here's the kicker. These drugs aren't just about losing weight. Today, they've become a lifestyle phenomenon that's reshaping the entire healthcare industry. So who buys these drugs? Well, their main customers are patients dealing with type 2 diabetes and obesity. But Novo Nordisk also sells to healthcare systems, hospitals, and insurance companies that pay for these treatments. Now, you've probably heard of its star products, right? Ozempic for diabetes and Wegovy for weight loss. Those two names alone have become cultural icons, and they turned Novo Nordisk into a household name practically overnight. And they turned the company into Europe's most valuable pharmaceutical company, at least at one point. I mean, Novo Nordisk was one of the very first companies to really nail the GLP-1 drug class. So there's really no surprise that the company reached massive success with its Ozempic and Wegovy drugs. Being the first gave it a huge head start, and it grabbed a lot of market share. That said, that early lead is now being challenged by competitors who are coming out with drugs that work even better. The landscape, it's changing fast. And that's where the tension lies. Can Novo hold its throne, or are we watching the start of a major shift in the weight loss drug war? Well, let's find out, right? Let's check out Novo Nordisk stock. Right now it's trading at $52, a massive drop from the highs we saw in early 2025. The stock's down 39% since the start of the year and nearly 54% in the last 52 weeks. Notably, the stock has only around 11% institutional ownership, so most of the shares are in the hands of retail investors. It means that Wall Street isn't running the show. It's mostly regular investors that are driving the stock. And that would normally mean that Novo is more volatile since retail investors can be quicker to react to news. But the stock only has a 60-month beta of 0.68. A beta below 1 means the stock tends to move less than the overall market. It's calmer than you might expect. So you could say that there's a balance right here, right? News reactions might trigger short-term trading swings from retail investors, but the company's overall profile and the fundamentals is enough to keep the stock anchored. In other words, the fundamentals are kind of acting like a stabilizer right now. So even when the headwinds hit hard, Novo stock right now isn't spiraling out of control, but that calm might be hiding some serious undercurrents. So, what can potentially drive Novo Nordisk stock up? And that's a question that's come up in my Discord channel recently. And the most significant positive catalyst right here is the company's current drug pipeline. For example, its new investigational drug, CagriSema, is a combination therapy for tackling weight loss, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular risk reduction. Investigational drugs are new substances that are still in development and testing and haven't received full FDA approval yet. Translation, it's still in the proving itself phase, but if it works, it could turn out to be a blockbuster. According to a recent study, over 50% of patients who took it reached a non-obese body mass index, or BMI, which means they went from obese to just overweight or normal weight. And that's promising. But again, it's still investigational. So we're going to need to see more positive numbers and, of course, the eventual FDA approval. If that approval can hit, I think it could open up a whole new chapter for Novo and possibly even reignite its growth story. And speaking of the FDA, the company has also submitted an oral semaglutide product used for blood sugar control and anti-obesity for approval. A lot of people hate needles, right? So an oral version could bring in patients who would never consider the injectable version. And that could expand the market. And that's huge. Imagine millions of people who avoided injections suddenly joining their customer base. I see that as a real growth potential. Another big opportunity is MASH. This is a serious liver disease that affects millions of people. And to take advantage of that market, Novo acquired or announced plans to acquire Akero Therapeutics for $5.2 billion. They have a drug which is still in phase 3 trials, and the drug uses a different mechanism than the GLP-1s. It's an analog, and experts think it could be best in class. This acquisition makes a lot of sense, at least to me. Novo is smart to diversify beyond just GLP-1 drugs. They understand that putting all your eggs in one basket is risky, like stocks, especially with competition heating up. So you could say that Novo's not just defending its turf, it's quietly setting up for its next big growth curve. But there's a catch, and it's potentially a big one, and it's all around pricing. The Trump administration announced plans to cut GLP-1 drug prices to $150 a month. They're talking about using something called most favored nation pricing, which could force US prices down by 59%. In plain English, it means the government would force drug prices to match the lowest global rates. Great for patients if you're taking it, bad for profit margins. Now, whether this actually happens, it's unclear. But even the threat of it puts pressure on the stock and makes investors worried about future profit margins. And here's what I've learned, right? Markets, they don't just wait for certainty. Just the rumor of a pricing cut can send stocks like this sliding. And then there's the chaotic state of the company's leadership. Back in May, their CEO resigned. Then, just this October, things got even messier. The chairman and 6 independent board members, They all resigned after an opposition with Novo Nordisk's foundation. The foundation is the controlling shareholder. They own Novo through a special share structure that gives them control. According to the foundation, the board was too slow to recognize market changes back in the States and disagreed about handle the CEO situation. As a result, former CEO Lars Sorensen, who ran the company from 2000 to 2016, is going to return as a temporary chairman. So, why is this such a big deal? Well, management transitions often create disruption, and this one happened at the worst possible time given all the competitive pressure. Shuffling executives and board members like a deck of cards isn't typically seen as a good thing, and that can shake investor confidence. And I've seen this pattern before. When leadership uncertainty meets market pressure, well, cracks tend to form, at least when it comes to investor trust. So, with all that out of the way, is Novo Nordisk a buy at today's levels? Well, to answer that, let's see what Wall Street thinks. A consensus among 21 analysts rate the stock a moderate buy with an average score of 3.71. Now, the scores have been trending upwards in the last 3 months, as a handful of hold and sell ratings have been upgraded to strong buy, as we can see here in the chart. That suggests that Wall Street's outlook on the company is improving, but short-term risks, they're still around. So you could say that this is one of those watch closely moments. Optimism is building, but the risk still isn't gone. But what do you think? Does Novo Nordisk's future pipeline have a chance to bring the company back to its former glory? Or do you think that that's all over? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons because it'll help others find the video. You won't miss out on any of my future deep dives. And of course, it'll also support the channel. Well, folks, that's it for me today in this video. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.